Hey, friends! Welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast. Come join me, your host, Nicole, for some hope-filled conversations about heartfelt entertainment that makes your heart swing. Hey, Hearties! Welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast. I'm your host, Nicole, joined by my lovely co-host, Brennan, to talk about When Calls the Heart, Season 1, Episode 3, A Telling Silence. It was written by Ken Lezebnik and directed by Michael Landon Jr.
Elizabeth helps a mute student who is struggling to cope with the death of her father. Jack investigates the mysterious circumstances surrounding the burning of Coal Valley's only church.
So, what were your first impressions for this episode and maybe your hot take of the week, if you have one?
Oh, Nicole, this episode was so emotional, very intense, and dramatic in the best way. I think this is one of my favorite episodes ever. I forgot about it, honestly, how good it was.
Yeah.
And oh, there's so much that I'm just excited to talk about. It was so good.
Yes,
What about
agreed.
you?
So, I think my first impression is, why has Hallmark, to this day, still not nominated them for an Emmy?
Right? You said it, girl.
Especially for this episode. The acting, the writing, the directing, all deserved Emmys in this episode.
I completely agree. Absolutely Emmy worthy.
And for all the Hardys that possibly are fans of Touched by an Angel, Ken Lezebnik was also a writer for that show. And that show was executive produced by Martha Williamson, who is the creator and writer for Signed, Sealed, Delivered.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Ken
amazing.
wrote a lot of episodes on Touched by an Angel.
Wow.
So
Oh,
that in itself speaks to how great of a writer he is, because that show is a fantastic show.
it sure is. Oh, that's such a cool fact. I didn't know that. And I completely agree. I think this show is right up there. I know it's a tough episode, but this
Yeah.
episode is right up there with the season 5 finale, where
Mm-hmm.
anybody who is struggling with the themes of this episode could watch
Mm-hmm.
this episode as a way to
Yeah.
learn, how to deal with and cope with these situations.
Yes. This episode, I think it's in my top 3 best episodes of the entire series.
Oh, it's a top one for me too, for
Yeah.
sure.
So I don't think I have a bold opinion about this episode. What about you?
Yeah, I think my bold opinion, and I know it's a very tricky subject I can imagine to even write about, but the story of someone dealing with, self-medicating. We see the struggle with alcohol in this episode. I think just a story of that in itself is very bold in this series. We really haven't seen, unless I'm forgetting, please correct me, but there isn't another episode that deals with something like that in this series. And that's really heavy.
Yeah, I feel like I would have to go back and look at all the episodes, which I'm sure we'll probably come across one or two as we're rewatching. But yeah, this is one of the few.
Yeah. So I think just the choice to even write a character that deals with alcohol, I think that's so bold, honestly.
Yes. Another show that I just mentioned, but I'm going to quote Shane here. Well, on Signed Sealed, she's referring to Rita's book. But I have to echo her saying of nobody writes like this except for When Calls the Heart and Signed, Sealed, Delivered.
I agree.
Nobody writes things.
Right.
Yes. Of course, in Rita's book, they were talking about something completely different,
Yes, yes.
completely
But
different topic. But anyway, our brief episode recap. So, Coal Valley Chronicles. In this episode, we see that Elizabeth becomes deeply concerned about her student Rosaline, an 8-year-old who has abruptly stopped speaking following her father's death in the mine. She suspects something more than grief is at play as the girl shows visible fear around miner Wendell Backus when she mysteriously disappears one afternoon. A town-wide search ensues. And of course, eventually she finds her inside the mine after seeing her drawing in the saloon, clutching her lunch pail. And she was doing this because she had a ritual with her dad that was she would take her father his lunch every day and they would enjoy their lunch together. They would sit at the opening of the mine, eat their lunch.
Yeah.
And, when she lost her dad, she is overwhelmed with guilt. And, she finally confesses to, why she's so upset. And we'll talk about that scene a little bit later on. And, Elizabeth gently reassures her of her mother's love for her that inspires Rosaline to speak again. And simultaneously, throughout this episode, Jack is also starting to investigate the arson case of Coal Valley's only church. And we will talk about this, but he finds a rare can of whale oil in the shed of cats that was also found at the burn site, which raises doubts about her involvement. Also, we see some awkward interaction with Kat early on in the episode, during her church service with the Pinkerton Mr. Spurlock. And, that's after the service. Henry meets with Reverend Anderson, about why he's paying him to be the pastor when no one's coming to his services. And, his congregation is basically zero. Reverend Anderson believes that people will return with a new church building. And, they're probably not going because people don't really want to worship in a saloon. And forgot the exact line that Henry said, but kind of makes me chuckle a little bit when Henry says something about, why am I paying you when Cat Montgomery is drawing a crowd in a grove of trees?
Right. Yes. And then he says, maybe I should put her on the payroll.
On payroll.
It's a little, I agree with you. The remark about meeting in the trees was funny.
Yes. Also, gotta mention this. The first appearance of Rip.
Oh, yes, we officially meet Rip.
Yep. Stray dog. And Jack calls him Rip Van Winkle.
Oh, I love Rip. He's so sweet.
Yes. And we'll see him a lot throughout the first 4 seasons of this show.
We sure will.
Spoiler alert, the dog who plays Rip did die.
Yeah.
After season 4, I believe. Reverend Anderson pays a visit to Kat with poppy seed cake and has a conversation with her about the mine disaster and the church. I think this is somewhere kind of in between the beginning and the middle of the episode. And, he compliments her on her soothing touch and says that he envies her. He feels the miners have drawn away from him ever since the disaster, but he's not happy that she could be stealing his congregates. She is basically defending herself. After the disaster, she told the children some stories to lift their hearts, and their parents started to come too. I do love this quote from Kat when she says, "If you won't meet their needs, they will flock to someone who will."
Mm.
And she promises not to stop if they keep coming.
Mm-hmm. Right?
That was a great scene.
That was a really good scene.
Yeah.
It was. And it wasn't necessarily disrespect of each other, but it was, civilized and firm understanding of where the other one was coming from.
I think towards the end of the episode is when Elizabeth almost has the breakthrough with Rosaline when she's trying to get her to draw her picture of her most important hour of the day. But they're interrupted by Wendell, who comes into the saloon. Elizabeth goes to talk to Jack about it a couple scenes after that. I had to mention this moment because this is a priceless moment in the show. It always kind of makes me chuckle when, she's like, Jack, Jack, she's running from around the row houses. And he's like, big city folk rattle a mile a minute. I'm just a country boy who needs to understand this.
Right.
He's like, slow down.
Right. I love that he said that, where he's like, okay, you need to start over.
Yes. Oh, yeah, he's like, Rosaline Sullivan, etc., etc. Oh. She explains that she's only 8, and he promises to talk to Wendell, which he doesn't talk to him until after she goes missing. I know Jack has a lot on his plate, but still. Come on, Jack.
Right.
But had he talked to Wendell any other time, we wouldn't have gotten that great scene, which we will talk about.
Exactly.
Yes. And part of the ending of this episode is Reverend Anderson meeting with Henry about the church and the fire after Rosaline has been found, and he resigns from working for the mining company. And we'll talk a little bit about Reverend Anderson when we get to Hearts of the Valley. So I love that he did that.
Me too.
So, Hearts of the Valley, what are your thoughts on Elizabeth's character development in this episode?
Oh, well, I just loved and appreciated how she did not give up on Rosaline. I mean, she really was with her and by her side for most of the episode. I mean, just always being so kind and loving to her, not pressuring her, but really trying to help her find ways to express what she was feeling other than speaking. And even just gently asking her questions. You could tell Rosaline was tuned in to her and listening, but I really appreciated just Elizabeth. She just persevered and just never stopped helping her, never stopped trying to understand throughout this episode.
She was very nurturing and empathetic towards Rosaline. I believe that she demonstrated a lot of patience and understanding as she tries to break through Rosaline's silence. Her ability to notice and interpret the subtle cues in Rosaline's behavior, like her fear of Wendell, it really highlights her growing observational skills as a teacher and caregiver. I think you just mentioned it, but despite the challenges and initial lack of success, Elizabeth doesn't give up. She
Mm-mm.
just remains determined to help her,
Yeah.
even going into the dangerous mine shaft to find her. Once again,
Hmm.
she's risking her life for her students and her community.
Yes. And she went in by herself. Hmm.
Cannot do that.
No, at night. Right.
I think we need to give a round of applause to Michael Landon Jr. for that shot of her before she goes into the mine. That was
Mm,
a brilliant shot. Cinematography
yes. Oh, it's beautiful. I agree.
with her holding the lantern. Great
Hmm.
job, Michael.
Oh, it's so good. That could be a poster.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, what were your thoughts on Jack in this episode?
I really liked how we've finally got a little more Mountie action in this episode.
Mhm.
We got to see Jack investigating. I really like the scene where he's at the site where the church burned down. And I think it is just a really good setup for him for this episode and even
Mhm.
episode 4 of what more was to come. So I was excited
Mhm.
to see more of him
Yeah.
in his Mountie role, investigating,
Yeah.
you know.
I love how, he's kind of not necessarily forgotten, but forgotten
Mhm.
about his posting that he wanted in Cape Fullerton. Like he shifts his focus from that and
Mhm.
Elizabeth's initial teaching assignment to
Yes.
investigating the church fire. He demonstrates his commitment to justice and the well-being of the community.
Mhm.
He takes on the role of conflict resolver when he confronts Wendell about his treatment of Rosaline,
Mhm.
which this showcases his commitment to protecting the vulnerable and maintaining order. Way to go,
Mhm.
Jack. And then on a relationship level,
Mhm.
it's not explicitly the focus of this episode, but his willingness to support Elizabeth in her efforts with Rosaline and his concern for her, Rosaline, so to speak, her
Mhm.
safety, hint at the deepening connection between them, meaning Elizabeth.
Yes. Like you
Hmm.
said, this episode, we really start to see more things that truly make Jack an excellent Mountie.
Hmm. Yeah.
And he's leaving this legacy that's going to carry through the rest of the
Yeah.
series. We
Hmm.
really start to see that here.
Yeah. Through his time on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Rosaline, what did you think about Rosaline in this episode?
Oh, Rosaline. She just has my heart. That little girl made me emotional watching her. It was such a powerful performance, even
Yeah.
with her not speaking, just her
Hmm.
expressions, her eyes, her body
Hmm.
language. Oh, what an
Yeah.
incredible little girl. She's so special.
I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name, but I think it's Mammy.
Mhm.
She did an incredible job.
She did. She
Yeah.
did. Stellar
Yes.
performance.
And skipping ahead 9 seasons, I love how she came back in season 10.
Me too. That made watching this episode again so much more special, thinking about when she comes back years later, made me
Yes.
appreciate her so much
Hmm.
more.
So her silence and fear are manifestations of her profound grief and trauma. Her disappearance and the discovery of her in the mine, clutching a lunch pail. I think it symbolizes, her struggle to cope with the loss of her father, her eventual breakdown and revelation that she didn't bring her father his lunch reflect her feelings of that guilt and deep bond that they shared. And of course, she speaks by the end of the episode, so she has a great arc in this episode.
Mhm. She totally does. It's incredible. Hmm.
Yes. And Wendell, what do you think about Wendell in this episode?
Oh, Wendell. what an intense, complicated character.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about it a few minutes ago, but I really just applaud the writers and
Mm-hmm.
Hallmark Channel for creating a character like this in this story
Mm-hmm.
because it's heavy. This is a man
Mm-hmm.
who is grieving, who is ridden with guilt, who is self-medicating, obviously using alcohol, and it's a heavy, delicate subject to conquer and I think tell well. And I think they told this character well in the sense of it was hard to watch and dramatic and very emotional, but I just applaud just the show for telling a story like this and creating a character like
Yeah.
this because it's not
Yes.
it's not easy and it's a real life thing that many people deal with unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it was really brave of them to do this. And they did it well, I think.
This episode, it really delves into the psychological impact of the
Mhm.
mind explosion on Wendell,
Yeah.
revealing his struggles with guilt, alcoholism, and self-loathing.
Hmm.
His explanation of his actions towards Rosaline highlight the lasting scars of trauma.
Hmm.
He's initially presented as a source of fear for Rosaline, and his confession and remorse offer a glimpse of potential redemption, suggesting that even those who have made mistakes can find a path towards healing. And in my opinion, I think you're going to agree with me on this. It wasn't taken as far later on in the show, but him struggling with guilt could be a parallel to Jack struggling with guilt because of the death of his friend Doug. You know, when that happened on the show, Jack was never the same.
He wasn't.
Never the same.
No.
Like, he never would have changed his mind about going to the Northern Territories.
Right.
He was set on it
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
he felt that it was something he had to do.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
also his guilt when he came back from the Northern Territories
Hmm.
because of the men, I think it was two men that he mentioned to Elizabeth that were lost, you know, in his squad that
Hmm.
he promised to protect, but then they ended up getting, I guess, shot.
Hmm.
He was never the same after that either.
No, he wasn't. He sure wasn't.
And we'll talk about that scene with him and Elizabeth when we get to season 5. That's one of the best scenes in the show.
Hmm. So good.
Yes. And
Yeah.
also, this could be a parallel to, in a way, Nathan's guilt over Jack.
Oh, totally. Totally. Right. And I think, not to get too much into it yet, but I think
Mhm.
both men obviously struggled with survivor's guilt.
Survivor's guilt.
And it really was
Mhm.
opposite for both of them because with Jack, it was kind of toward the end of his life on the show. And for
Mhm.
Nathan, it was right at the beginning. So we, as viewers, I think we got to see really a lot of who Jack was before Doug's death. And with Nathan, we're finally getting to see more of who he is now after working through his guilt.
Yeah. And then also, what were your thoughts on Reverend Anderson? I mentioned in, I think, our review of episode 1 that I would ask you about your thoughts on Reverend Anderson. Now,
Mhm.
his arc does kind of go into episode 4, which I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit when we get to
Yes.
episode 4. But
Mhm.
what did you think about him?
Mm. I thought for him, I think what struck me even the more I'm thinking about it is I wonder if he himself is maybe going through some stages of grief, just with his church burning down, fear of losing his congregation to someone else,
Mhm.
because I wouldn't say he's, irrationally or, like yelling or, like
Mhm.
physically angry, but he obviously has some anger he's
Mm-hmm.
going to speak with Kat. He's going to speak with Jack about this
Mm-hmm.
investigation. And I think he's going through those kind of grief stages of, well, now he's kind of in that, fight or flight
Mm-hmm.
mode. He's,
Yeah.
to me, angry and upset about what's
Mm-hmm.
happened. And we see more emotions come out of him, like you said, and more of his arc. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, those were my first thoughts about him in this episode.
Yeah, so I really love how he grows in this
Mhm.
episode. At the beginning, like you said, he's not happy about not having any congregates for his services. But by the end, we see that he basically gives that up. He tells Gowan, I don't work for you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That shows huge growth on his part.
Right. It sure does.
In my opinion, I did say this in our review of episode one. While I do think he's a good pastor, he's not my favorite
Mm-hmm.
pastor we've had on the show. And I don't think he's a vindictive man. I think he even said that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think he just maybe had his pride hurt a little bit, for one,
Mm-hmm.
and basically just lost his way, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I agree with you about when you mentioned he is talking to Henry in the office, toward the end of the episode. And I liked how he, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he said something about basically like, well, who am I to judge? Who am
Mm-hmm.
I to be the one to seek justice? And
Mm-hmm.
he even talked about, the church isn't mine. It's where the people
Yes.
are.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's so true. The church
Mm-hmm.
is the
Yeah.
body of Christ,
Yes.
people gathering together. And so I
Yeah.
really appreciated how he said
Yeah.
that.
That scene at the
Mhm.
end when he talks to Henry, my respect for him went up after that.
Way up, way up. I forgot all about that. And then, I mean, obviously with the rewatch, but it's so
Hmm.
good.
And Adrian Huff did a fantastic job as Reverend Anderson.
He did.
Not
Mhm.
gonna lie, actually, going back, that might be my bold opinion or hot take of the week.
Yeah.
Can he come back? Maybe not as the full-on pastor of what's now Hope Valley, but
Mhm.
it would be interesting to see his character show up in town again.
I think that would be great because remind me, is he around when the school is built?
No,
Okay. So I agree with
no.
that. It would be really interesting to have him come back and
Yeah,
see what was built, see that
yeah.
it was named after Jack. Yeah.
Hmm. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Hardee's. I haven't watched the show all the way through, I think, since Jack died, so I can't remember for sure. But he might not even be in all of season one.
Okay.
He might just be in a few episodes. So, yeah, it would
Yeah.
be interesting to see him come back.
It would be.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
Yes. So going to Mouthy Watch, we see Jack meet with Reverend Anderson two times, I think, in this episode. The first time, I think it was in the scene when Rip had gone into the jail and plopped himself on one of the beds.
Hmm.
And, Reverend Anderson comes in and says, I was happy to see this hat ride into town. And I love what Jack says. Hope you haven't been too disappointed with the head under it. No, Jack, never. We could never be disappointed in you.
Oh.
This is when he wants him to resolve the arson case of the burning of his church.
Yeah.
And, he goes on explaining his reasoning. I think how upset he is that he's losing his congregates. He believes that, people stopped going to his services because they stopped seeing him as a man of God and started seeing him as a company man because the mining company funds his salary.
Mm-hmm.
I can see why people would think that.
Right.
And like I just stated, when we're talking about Reverend Anderson's character, he does say he's not vindictive, but everyone deserves justice and wants him to see what Kat knows about the fire. Jack goes to the burn site, finds what we hear later on is whale oil, and that's according to Ned. That scene! Give me your best guess, Ned. That's whale oil.
Yeah. Yes.
That's your best guess? That's my best guess.
Oh, sweet Ned. And it seemed like he was kind of already preoccupied, but he just, oh yeah, whale oil.
Whale oil.
I don't think Jack was ready for that.
No, which hasn't been used for a couple of decades.
Hmm?
I think Ned even said it won't be used unless you're selling foul-scented soap,
Hmm.
or it can also be used for candle making.
Right. Yep.
Hint, hint. Which
Hint,
we will
hint.
talk about that. We will talk about this a little bit more in depth in a minute, but Jack confronts Wendell about Rosaline. He's asking if he kidnapped her, which of course he didn't. And, this is when Wendell confesses about his guilt. And backing up just a little bit, I think it was literally the scene right before he confronts Wendell. The second scene with Reverend Anderson in the jail when trying to still get more information on what Jack knows about the church fire. And bad timing, Jack, with the ball that goes under his foot from Rip. And that's literally right when Reverend Anderson walks in and he says something about the pace of his investigation. And Jack saying, I'm pleased with the pace of my investigation.
Right. It just was such unfortunate timing because it looks like Jack is just playing with his dog, not doing work, and it's not true, but it just was terrible timing because it's not a reflection of
No,
Jack's work in this case.
no.
But to the Reverend, he's probably like, seriously, you're just playing with your dog? And it's like, well, no, it just happened to be when you walked in.
Yes. Oh, and this is
Oh.
also when Elizabeth runs in because Rosaline has gone missing. And I do love Reverend Anderson at the end of this scene when, he asks Jack, what can I do to help?
Mm-hmm.
He lets all of his anger about the church fire go to help find Rosaline.
Mm-hmm. He sure does.
Which that was touching.
Yes. Oh, it sure was. And just like you said, we really get to see some great growth in his character. Mm-hmm.
And then the episode ends with a cliffhanger with Jack unintentionally finding the whale oil like at the burn site and Kat's ship.
Mm-hmm. And the wheels are a turning.
Jack looks heartbroken in that moment.
He does. And the way he just, he looks down at the whale oil and then he looks out at her and, she's just tending to her beautiful garden. And you just think, oh,
no,
he is probably just not looking forward to that conversation.
No. Okay. I have to ask you, I can't remember if I've asked you this before, but what were your thoughts on this cliffhanger the first time you watched this episode?
Well, I immediately wanted to watch the next episode. And I started watching the series when it was on Netflix years ago.
Me too.
So I know for both of us, we were like, oh, thank goodness we can just go to the next episode right away. But we were talking about this earlier. it seems like this episode could have been, and they definitely go together, but it could have been
Yeah.
one big episode, part one and
Hmm.
two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. Well, when I first started watching the show, it was like March, early April
Hmm.
of 2017. And I don't remember what hour of the night it was
Hmm.
when I watched this episode, but I was like, there's no way I'm waiting until morning
Oh
to watch
no, it was,
the next
we're
one.
watching the next episode now.
Now,
Life can wait.
I was like, next episode,
Hmm. Thank you, Netflix.
like,
I'm sorry for any viewers that were watching live that had to wait a week.
yeah, can't even imagine for
No,
season two.
me either. Oof.
Oof. Yeah, 1 through 3, I watched on Netflix.
Hmm.
Season 4, I was literally buying the episodes on iTunes as they were airing.
Oh, were you? Oh, that's awesome.
Yes. Well, I think some of them had already aired
Mm.
when I bought them because I don't remember what day specifically I started watching the show.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know what day I watched season 1, episode 1, but I do specifically remember I started binging after the episode My Heart Will Go On.
Mm.
So that was episode 7.
Yeah. Yes.
So, yeah, I guess I bought season 4, episodes 1 through 7. And
Hmm.
then I think I had to buy episode 8 and maybe 9 because I had
Mm.
caught up, I think, in just enough time to watch either the last 2 episodes of season 4 live or the finale
Mm.
live of season 4. So
Sure.
I've been
Oh,
watching ever since.
oh, yes.
Yeah,
I love that because it just, I know it's just some
yeah,
episodes, it would have been so hard to
yeah,
wait had we not been able to just watch
yeah.
one after the other.
Yep. Yes. But anyway, going to community chatter, gotta mention this scene. The church service at the beginning of the episode, led by Kat Montgomery.
Hmm. Yes.
Heathen. What? You're late. Only heathens arrive late to a church service. Uncouth. Me, uncouth. Only the uncouth whisper during the sermon.
It's so good. I love this scene. Oh, just right away with the banter. I love it.
Their banter in this episode is great.
During a church service. It's so good.
Yes. And then they go on talking about basically the interaction that Kat has with Spurlock because they're watching that interaction happen.
Yes. Hmm.
Cough, cough.
Yes. Oh, we'll see what happens. Hmm.
Even though I don't think spoilers exist because this episode has been out for years.
Yeah.
So we get a school scene with Elizabeth teaching a lesson on how people told time before machines,
Hmm.
which was with sundials. And I apologize if I am mispronouncing this, but she, states the Latin definition of a saying, ut ora fugit vita. Ora means hour, as an hour, life flies.
Mm.
That was a great scene.
It was a great scene. Yes, so good. Another great school scene.
Yeah. And then Rosaline goes missing during lunch while Elizabeth is breaking up a fight between 2 young boys. I had to mention this because of the fact that she covers her face with the lunch pail.
Yes, she learned. At first, I thought, what is she doing? And then I realized, oh, smart. She's
Yes.
shielding herself.
And then she's like, whatever happened, There will be no fisticuffs on my watch. This is no way to solve a dispute.
Mm-hmm. You said it. That's right. No
Uh,
one is getting a black eye today.
yes. And then she sees Wendell drive by and
Mm-hmm.
she's just like, call heads or tails.
Yes.
And then I think the last scene of this episode, or one of the last, is Elizabeth teaching another lesson on the meaning of sol omnibus lucet, which is the sun shines for everyone. And Rosaline speaks.
Yes. Oh,
Such a sweet
so
scene.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Going to Coal Valley highlights.
Mm-hmm.
What were three of the best scenes for you in this episode?
I think for me, the top one would be when Elizabeth finds Rosaline in the mine,
Hmm.
and it's very emotional. And Rosaline finally speaks to Elizabeth
Hmm.
and tells her what she's been feeling, what's been going on
Hmm.
inside. Second top scene would be with Jack and Wendell in his row house.
Hmm.
And I love when Jack tells him, and I apologize if I'm not saying it word for word, but he says something like, it's not too late to do something good with your life. And oh, I think another top scene would be when all the women are out at night looking for Rosaline in their lanterns. And basically, Molly says in so many words, I'll never give up. I'm not going to rest until I find her. I have to keep going. And she just loves her daughter so much and won't rest until she's found. Yeah, those were top scenes for me.
So, some top scenes for me. You mentioned this one, but Jack confronting Wendell about Rosaline going missing. Daniel listening in this scene. Oh my word. He kills it in this scene. I mean, he always does a fantastic job, but this scene, the way he delivered those lines in this scene was just,
Mm-hmm.
he says, if I find out that little girl is missing because of something you've done, I will personally see to it. You are locked away in Medicine Hat Prison, shackled to the wall of a stone cold cell for the rest of your miserable life.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then Wendell, confesses
Mm-hmm.
and, he says, I put the fear of God in her. Jack says, no, you put the fear of a very flawed man in her, not God.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says a little bit later on, at the end of that scene, maybe you were spared for a reason. It's not too late to do something good with your life.
Mm-hmm. I
Oh,
think, it's so good. I agree with you. I think this is one of Jack's best scenes.
hmm.
It's great. So good.
Daniel was fantastic in this episode.
Fantastic. Is
Hmm.
such a great performance.
Elizabeth in the mine with Rosaline and the reunion with Molly. This scene makes me sob every single time I
Mhm.
watch this episode. I think we said this earlier on in the episode, but she came to the mine because she wanted to bring her dad his lunch.
Mhm.
She didn't the day of the disaster because her friend Anna, played by Cadence Roach, who we love, she asked her to play, and then quote unquote, then the boom came, and she didn't get to take him his lunch. And what Elizabeth says to her in this scene,
Mhm.
it is not your fault that your
Mhm.
daddy lost his life in this mine.
Mhm.
And then she assures Rosaline. And then, Rosaline says, what will mommy say if she finds out I didn't bring him his lunch? And she says, your mom will tell you that she loves you more than life itself.
Mhm. Oh, it's so good. It's Elizabeth just says the perfect words to her. And then, not to jump ahead a little bit, but then the first words that Molly says to her really are how much she loves her.
Yeah.
And that's all that she keeps saying.
Yeah. That reunion was beautiful.
It was so beautiful. I think this is one of Molly's best performances too.
Johanna killed it in this episode.
She did. Oh, she's so good.
Hmm. And the reunion is, I think, one of my favorite moments in this show, too,
Mhm.
through all 12 seasons.
Mhm.
And the look between Jack and Elizabeth is one of my favorite looks between them throughout their relationship.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It's
Yeah.
kind of that first moment of recognition of, okay, we did it. We found her, and just
Yeah.
their smiles at each other, and oh, it's so beautiful.
And I have to say, I love how Wendell helps with the search.
Yes, he does. Yes, I loved that. Right
Yeah.
away, he's trying to do something good
Yeah.
after speaking with Jack.
Yep. Some honorable mentions. The dinner with Molly, Rosaline, and Elizabeth. When Molly is telling her about Rosaline, she was named after her grandmother, and her grandfather worked in one of the mines across the water, I think is what she said. So they have coal dust in their blood. That was a great scene.
Yeah.
And Jack teaching Gabe the Mountie salute was great. That's one of
Yeah.
my favorite moments.
That's so good. I
The
like that moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
He has his hand wrong, like something like that, but Jack,
Yeah.
like, or maybe it's the thumb. He has his thumb like that, and then Jack
Yes.
moves his thumb.
Yes. I thought that was so sweet.
Yes.
Such a good moment.
Yep. And then I gotta mention this scene when Jack and Elizabeth have a brief conversation after school. This is after Rosaline has been found. When he apologizes to her for jumping to conclusions about her character when he first got to town. And
Mhm.
he states that she proved him arrow, which means mistaken in Latin. And then he calls her beautiful in Latin, which is Bella.
Oh, I had that down as a just other top moment in this episode, that Latin speak with each other at the end. Oh, it's so great. I loved it.
Yes. Oh, here's another bold opinion. I think them doing the Latin speak to each other is the equivalent of, you're probably gonna laugh, Oliver and Shane's Shakespeare speak and signed, sealed, delivered.
Oh, right. Yeah. It's so similar. That's true.
Who, in your opinion, had the best performance in this episode?
Oh, I remind me, the actress who plays Rosaline,
Mammy.
Mammy. I think
Hmm.
she was the top performance in this
Yeah.
episode for me.
Yes, I agree with that. And then also, I think it's a four-way tie. I just
Oh,
gotta say.
completely. Mm-hmm.
Mammy, Johanna, Aaron, and Dan.
Yes, I completely agree with that. An absolute tie for sure.
Agreed. Yes.
Yeah.
So, what do you think was the best quote of this episode? Or what was your favorite quote of this episode?
I wrote it down because it was my
Yeah.
favorite quote of the episode, but of course I forgot to write down
Hmm.
who said it, so please remind
Yeah.
me. It's where God guides, God provides.
Reverend Anderson.
Reverend Anderson, thank you, Nicole.
Yes. Great quote. Yes. Love that one. And very true.
It's so true.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got to keep this in
Hmm.
my own journal. It's so good.
Yeah. I love that one. And for me, another best quote is the light of love restores every lost voice. And that was Elizabeth in her journal.
Mm, also a good one.
Hmm. So going to Faith and Frontier, what were some themes for you in this episode?
Oh, well, themes for me that stuck out were themes of hope
Hmm.
and love, and that it's never too late, whether that be it's just never too late in life or it's never too late to do something good.
Yes, agreed. So for me, healing through compassion. So an example would be Elizabeth's dedication to helping Rosaline. It exemplifies the power of empathy and patience, as we stated, by offering a listening ear and a safe space. She helps Rosaline confront her grief and fear, leading to emotional healing. So, a Bible verse that would fit or match this theme. I think we said it for our review of episode 2, but it could also apply to this theme in this episode, which is Galatians chapter 6, verse 2, carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. So I feel like Elizabeth, just like she did carrying the burden of her friends, Abigail and all the other widows, she also carries the burden in this episode that Rosaline has.
Hmm. Oh, I think she does too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hmm.
I think, as I previously stated, everyone needs a teacher like Elizabeth.
Oh, yes. I would have loved that. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Unforgettable.
Erin really shines in the scenes with her students.
Hmm. She sure does. It's a
Hmm.
gift for sure.
Yes. Trust and distrust in a community. This episode highlights how events like the church fire can create a sense of distrust with a close-knit community. We have Reverend Anderson's frustration over his congregation's attendance, compared to the attendance that Kat is getting at her outdoor services. It suggests a decline in trust towards the church, possibly because of the connection or association with the mining company. A Bible verse that I think would fit this theme, Psalm chapter 118, verse 8. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in humans.
Hmm.
So I think it's saying, in this case, the townspeople should put their trust more in the Lord than in the mining company. Not that they don't have trust in the Lord, but
Hmm. Hmm. I completely agree with that. And I think this verse could apply to Wendell as a character as well.
Wendell,
Obviously, he's lost self-control, but
yeah.
instead of trying to end his own pain
Hmm.
and self-medicate, he's someone that could put his trust in the Lord
Hmm.
and give the Lord that burden.
Yeah. And then also the power of forgiveness.
Hmm.
So Wendell's admission of guilt and his subsequent effort to make amends demonstrates how confronting one's past and seeking redemption can lead to personal growth and community healing. It could also apply to Reverend Anderson with feeling guilty and blaming Kat for burning down the church and stealing his congregation, then deciding not to work for Henry anymore. And a verse that could fit this is Colossians chapter 3, verse 13. Bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you.
Mm-hmm. So good.
I really love, and I think we'll talk about it when we review episode 4, because there is a scene at the end of 4 where Reverend Anderson apologizes to Kat. And I love how he seeks forgiveness for his behavior.
Hmm. Yes. So
Yes.
powerful.
And as previously stated, I do love how Wendell wants to try to be a better man.
Hmm.
And we see that the first thing we see of him trying to improve his character, so to speak, is him pouring out the liquor.
Hmm. Oh, that was such an emotional, powerful moment.
Mm-hmm.
He just chose to do that. And
Yeah.
then, like we mentioned earlier, going out and helping to look for
Yes.
Rosaline.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How do you think these themes apply to today?
I think these themes could be applied really to everyday life. I mean, really to
Mm-hmm.
anyone who is struggling with a burden that they
Mm-hmm.
can't seem to let go
Yeah.
of. Anyone who is struggling with guilt or self-loathing,
Yeah.
or anyone who is struggling with trying to help someone that they love and care for deeply, and just trying to look for answers, trying everything they can to help their loved one.
Yeah.
Yeah, just choosing to do the right thing
Mm-hmm.
and being there for someone who needs help.
Yeah.
Helping people when they need it, no matter what that looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Yeah.
agreed. So
Hmm.
for me, there's a lot of division in this country and in the
Yeah.
world right now. I feel like we need more compassion
Yes.
and less anger.
Hmm. I completely agree with that. 110%.
Because, a lot of people are struggling as of recently. We need more compassion
We do. We do. I completely agree.
and more forgiveness because people can get so angry with one another.
Yes. Yes. And that anger creates division, like you were just talking
Hmm.
about.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, what is the message you took away from this episode? So, the overall message.
I think the message that I took away is never give up. Never
Hmm.
give up on people, on your loved ones, as hard as it may be. I think that's what people need is people
Hmm.
need people who aren't going to give up on them,
Yeah.
who are going to rally around them and be
Hmm.
there for them no matter what. And I know that there are exceptions, but
Hmm.
that's what I took away is never give up.
Yeah.
What about you?
So, the message for me, this episode emphasizes the power of human connection, empathy,
Hmm.
and forgiveness in
Yeah.
helping individuals and communities heal and move forward after tragedy. It
Hmm.
also cautions against the dangers of hasty judgments and
Hmm.
highlights the importance of pursuing truth and justice.
Hmm. Absolutely. I completely agree with those.
Yes. Going to our party's trivia for this week. So, the answer to last week's trivia question about what year was the Old Farmer's Almanac that Elizabeth read, that was 1901. So, if any of you got that right, way to go. And our trivia question for this week, would you like to read this one, Brennan?
Sure. Sure. What was the game Elizabeth was going to teach Rosaline during lunch hour?
Leave your guesses in the comments, hearties. All right, hearties. Well, I think that wraps up our review of When Calls the Heart, Season 1, Episode 3. If you enjoyed this episode and are watching on YouTube, you can like this video and share your thoughts about the episode in the comments. If you are listening on Spotify, make sure to rate and review, as your feedback is always greatly appreciated. If you want to stay up to date on all of our reviews for When Calls the Heart, you can subscribe to this channel on YouTube and follow along on Spotify, and make sure to turn on the bell so you are alerted when those episodes come. You can also find the podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Swing My Heart Podcast, and Twitter at Swing My Heart Pod. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are in the world. And we will see you next time for our review of episode 4. We love y'all. Bye.
Bye.